Let's see, how is this? I need to be able to see the comments, so I have to keep it kind of close. And I'm connected to the microphone, so let's see here. 4 people in here. That's decent. Lighting still not the greatest. But we're in a different corner of the garden today because the neighbor's doing something loud over there. So we're over on this side. And I may be dive bombed by a butterfly. This has happened twice already. I'm not really sure why. There he is. Okay. Nice to be back. I like this regular practice time. And I bummed some real cigarettes from my smoker, so I have those today. Although, I mean, they look almost the same. Fake one, real one. Can you tell the difference? I mean, like, that one has the brand on it, but but yes. Let's see. Yeah, I wonder if there's a way to see the chat. No, that's. Wish I could figure that out. It'd be nice to like see the chat more. Hello. Let's see, 6 people, and we've got like 3 minutes to go till 5. Like I said, don't want to start too early, but like to just check in and say hello. You know. Oh, it's nice here today. I mean, it's humid, but it's not raining, so that's good. If it starts raining, I have to go, because I did not bring an umbrella out here. I could duck into the forest maybe, but no. Probably go if it rains. But the weather's nice. It's good. Hello. How is everybody? I, again, brought the nun story, and we're on chapter 3, and I brought a little bit of French text. I was thinking, what could I read? That was in French, as Audrey, and there was an interview she did in French. When was this? Oh, now I'm forgetting. It might have been around the nun story, actually, but she doesn't. Did she mention it here? No. It's just a short paragraph that's like totally blown out. And she speaks in French to this interviewer, so I thought I can attempt that. Those are mostly words I know. So, yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, because, I mean, I wanted to do this as kind of a practice thing, but I didn't know that they, like, stayed there. I mean, you have the option. So I'm trying to decide what I want to do, because I don't really want them up forever publicly. Right now they're private, and I was thinking of kind of putting them in. I started this account at buymeacoffee.com so that I can share the diary readings I'm doing over there, and PDFs of the diaries and things like that. So I thought of maybe putting these over there so that people who want to listen to the nun story again, or watch these again, can go there, because I don't really, I mean, this might end up being, a large chunk of live streams on my channel, and I don't know, because it's like this casual practice thing. I don't know if I want to keep it up permanently for everyone to see, but I was thinking I could make it a little private thing where people just support me with a couple dollars a month, and then they have access to all of these live streams too. A little private membership. Yes, I do. I managed to steal some cigarettes. Yes, I was given. Isn't that nasty? Like, that's not pretty at all. I mean, I understand why they're doing it, but I mean, I would just put them in a nice gold case or something, because that's gross looking. My fake cigarettes have a much nicer looking box. No diseased mouths on it. So silly. But yeah, I have the real ones today and the fake ones. I might kind of alternate. But yes, I guess we can get started, because I think it's 5. I forgot to wear my watch again. I don't wear watches. I don't really like them on my wrist, but I have one, you know, for occasions such as this, when I forget to wear them. So, all right. I should get like a Bluetooth thing, because it's funny being attached to my camera. Where was chapter 3? Okay, well, we'll light a cigarette for you. Oh, wait. I don't think I have an addictive personality. I mean, chocolate, yes, but cigarettes, I mean, I've had a couple before. I had one yesterday. I just don't really have a desire. I like my weed so much better. But it's just for the acting thing. I think if I was going to get addicted to cigarettes, I probably would have already by now. So, you don't know how old I am. I've had the chance. So, all right. We'll start with the nun's story. I'll set these things up over here. I have this cute little ashtray. It's I'm not sure how old it is, but just fold it out. I kind of scorched it. Alrighty, right. For the smoking practice and the Audrey voice practice. Here we go. I hope I'm even better than last week. That's the idea. Let's improve. So wait, I'm right-handed. I don't know what I'm doing now. Wait. Yeah. All right, so there's the real one. Let's see. I have a feeling it burns slower than the fake one. We'll see. All right, let's pray I don't get knocked out by a butterfly. See, so far I don't really notice a difference. I don't know what kind of cigarettes these are. Actually, Lucky Strike. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm not sensitive enough to know the difference. We'll see. Okay. And I will be making a video with my boyfriend soon where he will be my coach with the cigarettes. So it won't be a live stream because I'll edit out any stupidity. So, but we will do that soon. Okay. Now, what? Yes, I know. Is it any different? Could you tell if I was smoking the other kind? Anyway, let's get started. Let's read. Let's read about nuns while I smoke a cigarette. All right. Gotta pay attention to that, and it's smoking in my face. It does make me a little lightheaded, actually. The 6 months were almost over. Wow, that kind of does make me lightheaded. Is that what it's supposed to do? Yeah. The 6 months were almost over. Gabrielle discovered one day, when she counted her comrades, that 3 were missing. The rigid surveillance of every minute of the postulant's time had permitted so little impression to be made upon one upon the other, that she had no idea which 3 of the group had dropped out and returned to the world. Time in the convent belonged to the bronze bell in the chapel campanile, I don't know that word, which announced every activity of the close-packed days. This tolling bell, Sister Margarita had explained, was more than a summons to duties and devotions. It was the voice of Christ calling them for his things, which obviously made compliance with it one of the most desirable of their obligations. The Holy Rule, moreover, underlined this desirability. I think it is affecting me. As long as I don't burn the book. Oh dear. A little dizzy. I don't want to get on the book. If on the instant of the bell's peal you did not stop mid-air, mid-voice, whatever you were doing or saying, you committed an imperfection against the rule of obedience. Had that been the stumbling block for her 3 departed comrades, Gabrielle wondered. Her own frustration smouldered because she could not learn to cut a word in half and swallow the unspoken syllable at the sound of the bell, nor teach her fingers to drop pencil or chalk and leave a letter unfinished, a Y without its tail, a T without its cross. In the school for deaf mutes to which she was assigned, she saw the nuns and the novice helpers do these things without any look of rebellion or any visible desire to complete an unfinished act. She knew, because she struggled to emulate them, that it took the strength of a giant to submit to that paralyzing power of the bell. She knew also that if she could not achieve that command over herself in the simplest of all acts of obedience, she would never come near the final goal of becoming obedient to the will of God, for which these seeming idiosyncrasies of conduct were, so to speak, the gymnastic training. Though the campanile bell was quite light and musical in tone, it carried to the uttermost corners of the mother house enclosure, into hospital wards and linen closets, into schoolrooms and kitchens, and if there were some exceptionally noisy spots like the foundling nursery where you might just possibly miss its first peal and be able, with clear conscience, to complete an act in transit, there was always an older nun around who had the bells in her blood, who would lift her fist and pull twice down on air to pantomime that Christ was calling. Christ is calling. Even patients sometimes made this silent signal, and once, to Gabrielle's shame and astonishment, a deaf-mute child propelled her hand, holding a glass of milk to his lips, away from him when the bell, which he could not hear, had sounded. It really is. The grilling routine was the most exasperating and the most compelling challenge she had ever experienced. It demanded an all-or-nothing way of being, a conscious and complete submission of self. There were rewards which came often enough to keep you trudging toward them. There was the renewal force of the daily mass, whose mysterious beauty could never dim or diminish. I'm sorry, I think this cigarette is affecting my reading. You would think the one with the cannabis would do that. I think it's affecting. Okay. There was the singing of the 7 hours spaced throughout the day. The most magic moment was the final anthem to the Virgin every night just before the beginning of the grand silence, when all the sisters assembled in the chapel and sang the day to its close with the Salve Regina. It began after Lauds and the 7-minute examination of conscience, which followed this last devotion of the day. In the brief silence, while the community examined its 200 separate consciences, you sensed the struggle in the body's kneeling in self-judgment, and heard pencils scratch across notebook pages, harsh whispers of sound that said, mea culpa, I accuse myself. There was no feeling of a molded community around you then. Each nun seemed momentarily to have escaped from the mold, to exist briefly apart from his sisters in the lonely atmospheres of her own conscience. Then 5 peals of the bell brought them together to perform with a single fervent heart their final act of the day, the Salve Regina. One by one, the lights in the chapel would be extinguished until there were left only the vigil light at the altar and the shaded lamp that illuminated the statue of the Virgin Mary. When everything else was dark, the nuns began to sing. For Gabrielle, this was the moment that made every next day possible. Even after the postulants were permitted to sing with the sisters, she could not trust their voice. The awesome antiphon swelled in the dark and expanded it. Hello. It's a butterfly friend. Okay, it's not in my hair. It's okay if it's in my hair. It seemed to her that every convent, monastery, and remotest mission on the planet was somehow brought into her own chapel, and that the pure voices she heard close to her were but the top level of sound in the cry for mercy that was welling up at that moment to the Mother of God from every place where vowed ones lived behind walls, their eyes of trust like those of children in the dark, thousands upon thousands of them, seemed to be looking out through her own. He's sitting over here, fixed on the single lighted figure to which the voices sang, O Dulcis Virgo Maria. Oh, gone. In the dark, the sisters filed out of the chapel line by line, the postulants first, and the youngest of those at the head, then the novices, and finally the professed nuns, with the oldest in life, bringing up the rear, the processional sequence for the total community en marche. Shadowed in this traditional formation, Gabrielle saw the outlines of a great family with the youngest out in front under the multiple eyes of the senior sisters and the local Mother Superior of the house, or Reverend Mother Emmanuel herself when her work schedule permitted, there near the door to receive their reverence and to give them her benediction. Her youngest novice stood beside her, holding the pot of holy water with which she sprinkled them. You could not see clearly in the gloom the aspergillum, I don't know what that is, that rose and fell rhythmically and occasionally dipped into the pot the novice held, but you felt sometimes on your face a few cool drops falling, along with the Latin words of blessing that sent you off to bed. I'm going to smoke one of my fake ones. The other one, it made me dizzy. Oh, something fell out. Oh, okay. Yeah. I think the other ones burn slower. It seemed to Gabrielle, during the months of trial, that the harder she tried, the more imperfect she became. The notebook in which each morning she recorded her first examination of conscience, as did every other sister in the same bell-bracketed 10 minutes wherever she might be, read like a record of rebellion against the holy rule. Ran upstairs, talked after bell, let door slam, no spirit of poverty again today in refectory, still longing for plate instead of wooden plank to eat from. In the study hall, once a week, the postulants read aloud to Sister Margarita the list of their imperfections. Their voices cracked, their faces perspired, and Gabrielle agonized for each one until her turn came. Often she had the impression she was reading the wrong week. Her faults repeated themselves week after week, identical in number and kind. That's why I do not want to be a nun. I thought about it once, but I don't think I could do it. It might have helped, she thought, had she been able to compare notes with her struggling comrades, but life gave no opportunity for this. They'd all been dispersed from the first day, each to the department for which she had special qualifications, and when the group came together for the daily hour of recreation, all conversation had to be kept to matters of general interest. Since it was a strict rule that the past must never be mentioned, there was very little left to talk about with these comparative strangers, except the scenery, which was always the same. Generally, oh, I missed it. I'm sorry. Generally, on recreation, the postulants were as uncommunicative as the cocoons hanging in the poplar trees beneath which they strolled and breathed deeply, as the mistress of postulants urged. Gabrielle was aware, oh, thank you. Gabrielle was aware, however, of growing perceptions which seemed almost extrasensory, since she could not recall exactly when she had first understood this or that hidden aspect of convent life. During her postulancy, a group of novices made their first vows and changed into the habit of the professed. She had never thought of their fierce temptation to see how they looked in the transforming black. Even when, one morning, leaving the dormitory, she paused to allow a former novice to precede her and glanced into the cell from which the flustered new nun had emerged. She made nothing of the black apron she saw hanging behind the pane of the half-open window. But weeks later, when Sister Margarita was talking of the temptations of vanity, To explain why the rule permitted nuns to shine their shoes only once weekly instead of daily, as some might wish to do, Gabrielle knew in a flash that her sisters must sometimes try to steal looks at themselves in their mirrorless world, though there was no connection then in her mind between this mysterious certainty and the memory of a black apron hung behind a pane of glass to cast a dark reflection. Oh, I am covered in ash. I have to say about your comment, back to Kendall, I mean, sucky year to even try anything, and I need to put together a new reel. I'm looking for things to do for that. But honestly, like, I don't want to be a nun anymore. But I would love to play a nun, and so I keep looking for stories of nuns. Like, I'm reading about Hildegard von Bingen and another one. I'm just very curious and hoping something strikes me, and getting old. But I think it would be a fun challenge to play a nun. I would like to experience that, and then like do the research for it. Like, if they allow you to these days, I don't know. You know, spend time in a convent. It's probably the only way I would get to spend time in a convent. I also wondered about the Amish growing up. I grew up around the Amish, but I never really met them. Now I'm watching a lot of YouTube channels by ex-Amish. It just, I don't know, it fascinates me. I don't think I can live that way, but I would love to do it for a little while and yeah, do it in a film, tell someone's story, like live it in that way. That's why I like acting, really, because you get to live different lives that you don't in your normal life, you know? That's why I love the old. Anyway, I'll get back to, sorry. We'll light another one in a minute. Give me a moment. Each step of preparation for the novitiate, novitiate, not really sure how that's pronounced, in the midst of it, for there were novices ever bred to study secretly, and beyond these were the professed nuns. It's like living in your future before you came to it. You could look at it and think about it endlessly, but you could never speak with it, yet somehow the air was charged with communication. It was amazing how much seemed to be said when Sister William passed her in a corridor. "Don't struggle so alone, my sister," said the sharp eyes that barely glanced at her. "Leave a little leeway for the graces. Saints are seldom made, and never in a day. You master one imperfection, and 10 others sprout like dragon's teeth. It's a never-ending affair trying to be a good nun. Endless, but never forget our saying, when God orders, he gives." And she would be gone then, and only her serge skirts would have spoken in the discreet rustle of uninterrupted passage. God gave her the strength to wake up each morning, ready to start all over again. As the mysteriously acquired awarenesses extended her understanding of the inner life of nuns, it struck Gabrielle that perhaps each one of them, no matter how old in the religious life, had to begin each day as if it were a first. The penances confirmed her idea that a life against nature could never become habitual, could never be lived through the reflexes, but had to be fought for constantly. The late arrivals in chapel, who had to prostrate themselves in the center of the nave and stay that way until the superior signaled her aide to pluck their sleeves and send them to their pews, were as often as not the professed nuns whose imposing number of keys indicated their importance in the community. Do one now. I will do a real one. It's not one. Even though it makes me dizzy. The refectory penances were performed in the bright light that slanted down from many windows. Here, the late arrival, kneeling beside the superior's chairs at the head of the U-shaped tables, was seen by all. Moreover, when she received permission to be seated, she had the additional mortification of disturbing her sisters on the bench. It was like having to disrupt an immense tableau vivant, archaic in design and significance. It gave Gabrielle a shiver every time she saw it happen, as if already the nun's dread of conspicuousness had entered her spirit. When the late sister's place was midway on the bench, 10 sisters had to stand up and file out while she went into her place. They had first to remove the big napkins, which were both serviettes and individual tablecloths. These unbleached squares of sacking were tucked into the starched bibs and were anchored in place on the table by the wood planks that served as plates. A sideways glance down the table gave the impression that all the nuns were connected to it by a continuous membrane of poverty, which is what the coarse napkins really were, in both intention and substance. The disturbed nuns disconnected themselves by laying the napkins forward on the table. Then they stood up, bowed to the superior, and filed out. The laggard, passing before them, tapped her breast twice to each. Oops. Tapped a microphone twice. Excuse me. Then she crept in between bench and table. No matter how tall, how young, or how regally ancient she might be, she always seemed to creep. Gabrielle prayed that she would never come late for meals. Being prostrate in the chapel did not seem half so appealing as having to derange a whole row of your sisters and put them at a moment when they had half chewed food in their mouths to the test of living up to that part of the holy rule which said the sisters should always have a serene visage and a gracious air. Although each step toward the novitiate was described before it was taken, she could be seen around you and practiced pantomime. This did not, however, remove the element of surprise. As the day of vesture approached, there was much discussion of detachment. This was an alpine peak over which the mistress of postulants led them so gently in thought that it seemed to Gabrielle she had already gone over that divide. Detachment from family and friends was an accomplished fact. Since the first day, her struggles had been so intense and absorbing, she had written but one letter home. The hopelessness of trying to communicate anything of what she was thinking and feeling made the letter as brief and banal as the spirit messages her brothers used to buy from turban seers at county fairs. All goes well. Detachment from things would be no more difficult than detachment from family had been, she thought. Sister Margarita explained that the night before vesture they would be expected to make a total severance from all cherished personal possessions, to destroy all letters and photographs, and into a basket for the poor, which would be passed around, to cast any object that might attach them to memory. She touched the fine gold pencil from Jean, which she kept in her shirt pocket. When the time came to drop it into the basket for the poor, she would say, "All for Jesus," then, and feel less pain. Sister Margarita spoke softly when she came to the cutting of the hair, which would detach them from worldly appearances. The hair, she said, is the chief adornment of women in the world. Gabrielle felt no emotion at the prospect of her head being clipped, although she knew that in the lay world the nun's bare head, under bands and bonnet, disturbed the imagination almost more than any other aspect of cloistered women. I never really thought about it. To be shorn of your hair seemed to her not only the most logical of detachments, but also the most healthy for those who must henceforth wear a skull cap weighted with coif, starched supports, and the final long veil. She had no curiosity about the actual operation, for she had already seen it performed one day when she was sent to the laundry. Postulants from a previous group were seated on wood benches over which presided 3 nuns with clippers and shears. The heads were already clipped bare as a kneecap, and the stone floor adrift with chestnut and blonde locks, some of which clung to the shoes of the barber nuns. More interesting than the barbering was the sight of the nuns talking with the postulants, a special permission, she supposed, to ease the nervousness of the shorn ones who had a tendency to giggle when they saw how the others looked. That glimpse of her future made the final act of detachment seem no more macabre than any of the others. Your photos of Papa and the brothers, your gold pencil, your last gossipy letter from Tante Colette, your hair, she said to herself, and did not realize that there were ramifications of detachment which reached inward beyond the emotions associated with persons and places to the deep instinctive humanity which had been part of you since the day you were born. The first time she saw a novice faint in the chapel, she broke every rule and stared. No nun or novice so much as glanced at the white form that had keeled over from the knees, though the novice fell sideways into their midst. And her little office, little book. I'll try to be sexier. Little office shot from her hands as if thrown. For a few moments, while the prayers continued, the surrounding sisters seemed to be monsters of indifference, as removed from the plight of the unconscious one as though she were not sprawled out, bleached before them on the carpet. I think this one can do one more. Then Gabrielle saw the nun in charge of the health of the community come down the aisle. The nursing nun plucked the sleeve of the nearest sister, who arose at once and helped carry the collapsed novice back down the aisle, past 100 heads that never turned, past 200 eyes that never swerved from the altar. She trembled as she realized that she had been staring not at heartlessness, but at a display of detachment which transcended every discipline she had thus far tried to emulate. How could you train yourself to a detachment so deep-reaching that it cut you off from the very breath and heartbeat of your common humanity? She would never achieve that goal, she told herself with despair, unaware that when she had stifled her nurse's impulse to rush forward and give aid, she had already struggled up the first rise of that alpine climb. Later on, when she had trained herself to the exquisite charity of not seeming to see her sister in torment, kneeling alone in the chapel and crying quietly into her hands, or one who fasted furtively to starve an ardent nature into obedience, she would know that few of them ever really reached the icy peak of total detachment, but only seemed to have done so, a position in actual fact much more perilous to maintain. There was a week of retreat before vesture, and on the last evening they were given their nuns' underclothing. Each piece was stitched with the postulant's number in the order. Gabrielle had the odd feeling, as she tried on the black hand-knit stockings with the drawstrings at their tops, and the long-sleeved chemise that came to the knees, that Sister Marie Polycarp was watching the 1072 garments fill out with new life. The face of the martyred missionary, familiar through photographs and the convent's magazine, seemed to be tilted toward her, a pale oval reflecting the ghost of a smile. It was like having a mirror in her cell. She lifted the black serge skirt over her shoulders and watched its fullness drop to the floor as she hooked it about her waist. It was a graceful garment. She walked from wall to wall and back again, watching the heavy hem swinging. Her hands found pockets and slid into them, and now she imagined Sister Marie Polycarp shaking her head regretfully as she explored what could be, if permitted, such a wonderful hiding place. The pockets were so large and so cleverly hidden among folds you could carry more than everything you owned in them and have nothing to show in silhouette. The mistress of novices, who was another living rule, sterner than Sister Margarita but equally as beautiful, had listed the items a nun could carry in those pockets. If she sequestered any others, her conscience would eventually compel her to report the disobedience. Gabrielle looked at the 6 allowed items ready on her dressing stand: a wallet of strong black leather, in which it was permitted to carry an India paper edition of the Little Office, the conscience notebook and a few pamphlets, a small circular tin box with hinged lid in which was set a pin cushion already studded with white-headed pins for the novice veil, a small rosary in a leather pouch, a penknife, a thimble, and a large cotton bandana in blue and white, the one bit of color a nun might possess. Da, 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 chain smoking. When she was vested, she would have one other permitted storage space, beneath her scapula, that outer garment whose origin was lost in antiquity. It was a sleeveless robe made of 2 panels of wool which dropped from the shoulders to the hemline, back and front, a symbol of the yoke of Christ, so the mistress had said. The leather belt buckled over it and made a handy pouch where such things as black bordered letters announcing a death in the family or cards with printed prayers for loved ones might be carried above the heart. But nothing slipped beneath the scapula must ever be detectable. There could be no telltale bulges. The squirrels are chasing each other. Funny. The squirrels around here are really cute. They're brown. I've got gray ones back home. I like the brown ones. And my legs, numb. Okay. She took her hands from the pockets and stood still for an instant, mentally adding the white gown, scapula, veil, and cape to the clothes she had on, and gazing inward at the image of herself as her family would see her in the morning, thankful that her congregation did not send its postulants to vesture attired as real brides. She could imagine what her brothers would make of such a show. She saw the merry faces as she removed the practical workaday clothing. Then her fingers touched the cap on her clipped head, and she shut off her imaginings abruptly. That's what this thing is for, she reminded herself. The white cotton cap was called a serre-tête. It clasped the head closely and had drawstrings in it. The tighter you draw those strings, the mistress of novices had said, the better you will restrain the imagination. Tie it down well, my sisters. We do not waste God's time with daydreaming. She loosened the drawstrings, which she had pulled too tight in her eagerness, then knelt behind her straw sack to say her last prayers as a postulant. Sleep always came quickly after days that began in the dark of the dawn, but this night she heard every hour tolled from the cathedral in town. The chimes drifted in through the dormitory windows to mingle with the sighs and rustlings of straw she heard all about her. She reviewed her talk with the superior general that afternoon, when she had confided her secret hope of one day being missionary sister in the Congo. The Reverend Mother Emmanuel's dark, glowing eyes seemed to have pulled it out of her. She had meant to say only that she hoped she might become a good nurse, and a good nun willing to go wherever she was sent, and not really caring where that might be, as long as there was an abundance of God's work to do. The tolling bells counted midnight. "We shall see, my child," said the Reverend Mother, smiling as at one who had reached for the moon too soon. "We select only the very strongest of sisters for our missions. Your nursing qualifications would seem to make you a likely candidate, but you're still very far from being in the mold. The mold is the armor of our missionaries, and this is not forged in a day. It takes patience and the graces from infinite praying to achieve." The second one was herbal, the third one was not, and this one's herbal. We shall see, we shall see. 3 bells chimed like an echo. In less than 2 hours, Gabrielle thought. She lay in wait for the electric alarm whose shock she had learned to subdue by anticipating it. Meditations, prime, tierce, and mass, and at 7 they were ready for vesture, while the Monsignor from Malines was preaching a sermon to the community of nuns and the close family members in the guest section. The postulants filed into the sacristy, where the remaining clothing for the novice nuns was laid out on 2 trestles, leather belts, starched gimps, veils, and scapulars segregated into 37 neat piles. Gabrielle saw everything as if she had 1,000 eyes looking in all directions at once. The 4 highest ranking in the community, the Superior General, the Mother Superior, the Mistress of Novices, and the Mistress of Postulants, were waiting like handmaidens to dress them. The farm girls blushed when these important personages dropped the white gowns over the black skirts and fitted the board-stiff gimps under their chins. The veil and scapula had been blessed and had to be kissed before they were put on, as each morning for the remainder of their religious lives they must kiss these items of the habit. Waiting her turn, Gabrielle looked at the first ones dressed. When the coif was pulled forward around the face, her companions underwent a subtle transformation. Flemish, English, and Irish identities disappeared, and they began to look alike. like angels slightly surprised, Gabrielle thought. She discovered why they looked surprised when the mistress showed her how to pull the gimp up and forward from the back to make a starched frame about her face. Side views were cut off as effectively as though blinders had been settled to her eyes, which was, she remembered, just what the coif was designed to do. It kept you looking in the only direction you were supposed to look, straight ahead toward God. But when she was moving in procession down the chapel aisle, looking toward the altar and the officiating priest, Gabrielle knew, as if she had seen through the back of her head, that Jean was there in the guest section. The certainty gave her a momentary shock, but only because he had promised never to try to see her again, and he was a man of his word. With her inner eye, she saw him in the last row near the door, hunched forward and staring at the white forms going by, unable to tell which one was hers. Then she realized that the free-swinging athletic walk she had stripped away concealed her from his eyes more than the concealing garments she wore. The Monsignor intoned the Veni Sponsa Christi, which brought them forward to the altar one by one to have a circlet of orange blossoms laid atop the veil. She walked with the slow, passionless pace which still required all her attention to maintain. The opposing choirs of nuns sang joyously of crowns until eternity, and she passed between them as between two protecting walls that closed her off from everything save the carpeted steps of the altar, which led her to her crown and to the name by which she would henceforth be known, Sister Luke. Let's see, how much was that? Two more pages? I'll do one more. Afterward, it took a long time to embrace all the sisters of the community. Their cheeks deep within the coif were hard to get at, and you had to be careful not to crush the starched gimps. Even for so light an embrace, she found it unnerving to touch them physically. And to feel on her arms the occasional pressure of their hands when they saw she had tears in her eyes. She wanted to tell them that her tears were not for fear or self-pity, as with some of the new novices, or for God-given joy, as with the others. They are simply tears of relief, she wanted to say, plain, practical relief because I've come to the crossroads and crossed. As she made the ritual rounds and came now and again to a face drawn back like a turtle's into its starchy carapace, it struck her that was how she would be years hence, when she, in her turn, would be receiving the kiss of peace from new novices and fighting not to respond emotionally to youthful faces under orange blossoms as they pressed into her sanctum of starch to find her cheeks. She was trembling when she went into the parlour to greet her second family. Her father came forward like an Edwardian gallant and took her two hands in his. Tante Colette, his spinster sister, stood behind him holding the youngest brother by the hand. "The family of the doctor," she said softly to her father, mocking him with his favourite phrase of pride. "And you?" He concealed his emotion under a professional scrutiny. "You are thinner. You seemed nervous during the ceremony." "You'll be nervous too, dear brother," said Tante Colette, "when you go to God, if you ever do." Her aunt kissed her vigorously and whispered into the coif band over her ear, "Poor Jean, he slipped in and slipped out, as of course you were well aware." The brothers shook her hand gravely and could think of nothing to say except the youngest, who asked if the orange blossoms were real. "They're wax," said Tante Colette for her. "Now you boys go over and sample the cakes the good sisters have baked for this occasion." "She has them tamed already," said her father. "And you also, my old one." Her aunt nodded briskly at the brother she idolized and said, "You will note, dear Gabby, that he wears his muffler." Her father seemed to find conversation difficult. He looked too often at his watch as he made small talk. If her aunt had not been present to bridge the silences with gossip, the reunion would have been unbearably stiff. Her aunt asked her sharply if she got enough to eat in this place, and then assured her that her father had his round, dozen of Zealand oysters delivered fresh on the half-shell every Friday at exactly 1:15. She was relieved when the visiting hour came to an end. The efforts of her father to appear natural with her were painful and puzzling. Her sister novices seemed to have had similar experiences with their families. They came from the parlor with troubled faces and removed their circlets of orange blossoms even before the sacristan came around with the basket to collect them. Was it the wreath, she wondered? Could that one symbol borrowed from the world have been the factor that held their families tongue-tied? She had her answer unexpectedly that same night when she reported for duty in the hospital ward. She had just taken over the desk from a sleepy old nun when all the call bells started ringing at once. She could not know that the same thing was happening throughout all the hospitals and charity homes of the Mother House enclosure, that everywhere the old patients who had been under care for years and who by now had the life of the convent fixed in the spirit, as if they themselves were members of the community, had waited up to see the new novices. She looked with alarm at the blinking red lights and hurried to her ward. All her patients were sitting up with eyes on the door through which they knew she must come. She started down the rows of beds, rearranging pillows, giving sips of water, and easing bandages, pretending not to hear the disobedient whispers that broke the grand silence. "How beautiful you are, sister." But hearing them with a sudden lift of heart, as she saw the surprised and faded old eyes, which had last seen her in the short black dress of the postulant. "As Papa saw me last night," she thought, and blessed them silently for telling her, with the surface emotions of the sick, what her father had been too confused to say. "Ah, sister, you make a beautiful nun," they sighed with satisfaction. Whoop, whoop. Oops. That's the end of chapter 3. Are we still enjoying it? I like this book. I like this book. And I'm dizzy. Comments? Suggestions? Smoke? Yes. Well, let's finish this off. And then I will read this French thing. I like having a garden to sit in. I don't ever want to be without a garden again. Oh, someone's home. Hi. Okay. Smoky over here. Okay. Any comments before I attempt reading this French? Does anyone speak French? Anyone understand French here? Can anyone comment on the French? I think the comments come up a little slower. Are you enjoying a real cigarette or just doing it for the roll? It's making me a little dizzy. Yeah, it has that effect. Not sure that's good for everyday life. Well, the new cigarette, that's a new thing. So, I mean the real cigarette. I think it also kind of fussed with my concentration. Oh, I don't know why. Yeah, strange. Strange thing. Okay, well, now let's see if I can read in French. So she did this interview, I think around the time of the nun's story, Aquarius. I'm an Aquarius. Yeah, it's online, and I can, I don't think I will. I don't particularly like this dizziness. Yeah, well, 1957 interview. It's online, and I can put a link in this video, which will remain up for a couple days. And like I said, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing. I am making them private after a couple days, and I'll do that for a while. And if I change my mind, then I'll let you know. But I'll put the link to this interview down there if you want to watch it. But this is basically just her response to the guy. He asked her about her career. So, let me fumble through the French. As Audrey, okay. French and Audrey, ok. Oui, je suis commencé ma carrière comme danseuse de ballet. J'ai étudié le ballet pendant des années. I don't think that's very good. J'ai dansé à Londres et un jour, j'ai eu la chance de faire 2-3 jours au studio dans un film et après ça, 4-5 jours après ça, un petit rôle. Après ça, un rôle plus grand et tout à coup, en 51, j'ai fait un essai pour Vacances romanes pour William Wyler, le metteur en scène, comme vous connaissez. Oui, comme vous connaissez. Wait, how do we connaissez? Actually, I forget how to pronounce that. Et en même temps, la même année, j'ai joué Gigi à Broadway à New York. I don't think that was that good. I will try it again, but I will have to practice this. I would like to be able to speak in her accent in French, but this is tough. Oui, je suis commencé ma carrière comme danseuse de ballet. J'ai étudié le ballet pendant des années. J'ai dansé... Hi, squirrel! J'ai dansé à Londres et un jour, j'ai eu la chance de faire 2-3 jours au studio dans un film. Et après ça, 4-5 jours. Après ça, un petit rôle. Après ça, un rôle plus grand. Et tout d'un coup, en 51, wait, it's supposed to be 51. 51, j'ai fait un essai pour Vacances romaines pour William Wyler, le metteur en scène, comme vous connaissez. That's it, connaissez. Comme vous connaissez. Et en même temps, la même année, j'ai joué Gigi à Broadway à New York. Message retracted. What did you say? Okay, we will practice that. Do you mind if I, practice that a little more for you in other episodes? We gotta get that down. I will practice Dutch as well, but I am absolutely not confident in that. Yes. The French I haven't even tried speaking in a year since I left France. I am losing everything. I'm losing my French. Must get it back. Gotta find some people to speak French with around here. Wish I was better with languages. I don't know. Maybe I am and I don't know it and I'm just really shy. I don't like to speak. I don't like to speak unless I get it right, which is not the way to learn languages. I know it. But I'm very self-conscious about that. Apparently I have good pronunciation. I was told that by my French teachers. Good pronunciation. And then when I speak Dutch here, I'm also told good pronunciation. They seem proud of me for that. What's the one phrase I use here? Can't remember. Ik heb geen idee. It means I have no idea. That one's useful. Ik heb geen idee. I don't know how to say anything else right now. Not very good with the improv in other languages. Pas du tout. Pas du tout. Votre français est bien, mais comme fumer, il faut pratiquer. Had to retract it because of the spelling. Yes. I can read that. I understand it. That's amazing. So proud of myself. Anyone else speak French? Gosh, this has been a long one this time. That was a long chapter. I read it before today skimmed it, missed a couple words I didn't know. That was a longer chapter. What else? I never know what to say here. How's everyone doing? Yes, so we'll continue with that next week and do the French again. I'll try to practice that a little more this week if I can. I have my driver's license test, just the theory part of it on Monday, so I am reading that book and taking a little test on my app, and I want to keep my driver's license. Try teaching French. That's nice. I don't think my relatives knew any languages. My grandmother, her parents were Swedish, but they didn't teach them any Swedish. I mean, we called my grandma Mormor, which means mom's mom. And then my cousins called her Farmor, which is father's mom, but that's all we got. I think speaking any other language is really helpful and, I don't know, just fun to pull out, you know, when you meet someone who speaks that language. I mean, yeah. Yeah, languages are fun. And then but tough, you know, because, I mean, I have friends who speak French more, and sometimes they say that they can express themselves better in another language than they can in English or whatnot. I think if you learn to speak different languages, I don't know, sometimes one might suit you better. I don't know what I'm like in French. Polish, that's nice. I speak English and English. A little bit of French. I'm glad I know some French. I took Spanish in school, so I can read a little bit of that. Oh, there are 3 butterflies playing with each other up there. Nice. Anything else? I can't remember if there was anything else I wanted to say. Hungarian, cool. Did I learn? I went to Hungary once, but I don't remember if I learned any words while I was there. It was nice. Yeah. Yes, I have to keep working on the French, and obviously Dutch since I'm living here, but haven't had much much interaction with people outside this household. So, I have to try harder. Okay. Did you say that before? I think I caught you saying that before, unless someone else in here speaks Vietnamese, and you guys should, get together. I guess that's it for today. And again, unless it's bad weather, I will be back here next week. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, we should all learn other languages. It's good for us. It's great when it's great when traveling if you can have a little bit in the other language. I try. Do I know any fun facts about Audrey? I don't know, because, I mean, there's things I probably don't know, obviously, because I didn't know her. I keep them all. They're just not public right now, because I just see this as kind of private practice time, but I share with a couple people. So, I don't know. I don't know about, like, keeping them public forever at the moment, but, I mean, I could change my mind. We'll see. Like I said, I think what I'm going to do is include these in a little membership on buymeacoffee.com. I started an account there for my other diary readings that I'm going to start posting there instead of YouTube's, because I have so many diaries to read, but I don't want to overload YouTube with it. So I think I might do sort of the same thing with this. I don't know what I'm doing. What was I saying? Oh, fun facts about Audrey. I don't know. I don't know what other people already know. I don't know what would be like a lesser known fact that I would know that someone else would know. I mean, she visited this house, if that's a fun fact. I can't really show you the house because they like to stay private here. Fun fact. Gosh, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. Do you have a fun fact? Does anyone else have a fun fact? What would be a fun fact? She was in this episode, like, I don't know if it exists still, but there was like a Betty Crocker, was it Betty Crocker cooking hour or something? You can see it on IMDb in the credits, and I was so surprised because I love seeing these like old TV shows that people are on. And I saw that listed there, but I can't find it anywhere. I don't know if it exists anywhere. I would love to see that. Oh yeah, that. got an update, but I can't really say much right now about that. Hopefully I'll have something new at some point. Yeah, I did get a little update, but I can't share it right now. So don't want to be spontaneous about that and say something I shouldn't. Oh, considered to play. I missed it. Oh, can you type that again? She was considered to play who? I shall wait and watch. Yeah, fun fact. But yeah, she was in this episode of, one of these live TV shows back in 1950 or something, and I saw that on IMDb and I tried to find it. I couldn't find it. That was fun. I did see one of the episodes she did for PBS something. Maria. I don't know. I might have heard something about that, but I don't know for sure. I know she was considered to do Peter Pan. Thank you. It's not really mine. I started my little garden on the other side of the house, so it's growing some vegetables right now. But I make use of this one. I'm foraging and learning about things and figuring out what plants are here. There's some nettle over there. There's some lady's mantle. It's great. Oh yeah, I had gone to the Margaret Herrick Library in Beverly Hills. It's like the Academy Library with tons of stuff. They have files of all sorts of production notes and her letters and things like that. So that was fun, and she was gonna do a Peter Pan, but they something about the rights and Disney and everything, but that didn't happen. I always wonder about the films people are gonna do. She also wrote that after doing War and Peace, another production, I can't remember who was directing or producing, they wanted her to do War and Peace with them. And she was like, oh, I kind of wish I could have a second chance at it. That'd be funny, doing two versions of the same movie. I wonder if anyone else has done that. But that was funny. I found notes on the makeup that they did for her for Roman Holiday. It's specific because it's a black and white film, but it was notes for the makeup department. And I'm going to follow those notes. I bought some of the corresponding makeup. I found the foundation that they used, I think. And I'm going to make a video of that and see how that turns out, although my makeup always looks the same no matter what I do. But I'll follow those instructions and make a video because that would be funny. And then turn it black and white and see if it looks okay. But I missed that last question there too. They disappear. How many movies have I been in? Not enough. I mean, I went to LA when I was 18. I did a lot of background work in short films and had a line here and there in these independent films that you can't really find anywhere. I mean, mainly I'm just in the background, or I did stand-in work. I did stand-in work on the Kaminsky method. That was fun. That was fun to work on. We actually shot on, what was the stage number, in Warner Brothers. And they had shot some part of Wait Until Dark there, which is funny because Alan Arkin is in this show. I got a book signed by him for a friend of mine while I was there. He seems nice, but it was funny. I don't know what part of the movie they shot there, but I was on the stage where they shot part of Wait Until Dark. But the whole lot's magical. You walk around and see the plaques outside of all the studios and saying what they shot there. I miss that. I really miss being on the studio a lot. It's fun. Not always fun, but I don't know. It's a magical place to be. I don't know. The studio lots. Well, it was the first season, and you won't see me because I was a stand-in for Lisa. I don't know what's her name. Edelstein. I can't remember her last name. The woman with the curly hair. But I was her stand-in, so you wouldn't see me. I was just there for lighting purposes. But it great fun. I liked it. Working with older actors, I took note of that because they have earlier bedtimes, so you get like a decent, a decent working day. Yeah. I'm just trying to think. Like, it's gonna date me. I mean, I was background. Like, if you see me in anything, it's gonna be in the background, and it's gonna be hard to spot sometimes. But I worked on that '70s show. That was fun. And the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. That was a while ago. Where would you see me in anything? I know, I suck. I did a lot of short films, and I'm working on a film. Well, it got a little delayed. I had written a scene with a friend of mine when we were in LA, and we shot it as part of our reels. It was set in the '40s, and the director I got for it liked it so much that he decided to option it from us, and we have an agreement to make it a feature-length film about sister-in-laws in the '40s who moved to Argentina. But things got delayed. We'll see where that is. I haven't checked in lately, but he was going to start funding for that, and then COVID hit, and you know, can't exactly go scout locations in Argentina at the moment. So I'll just keep dyeing my gray hair, and I did henna today. We're trying henna. But that would be my first like real film with like a real role. Thanks. What episode? I don't remember. There were a couple episodes. I remember like being at like a party at one of their houses. I had really long hair. And then at some point they decided to give me a really short wig. So you might not recognize me because I had a really short wig on. It was really ugly. It looked like, what's her name? Ice skater. No, wait, Dorothy Hamill. What episodes? What did I see? And there was like a cafe. There was a cafe in the '70s show, and I'd sometimes be in that cafe. Oh, Ugly Betty. I did background work in Ugly Betty. And they liked using me for the skinny girl jokes. They actually auditioned me to be background there. I mean, background work was fun, but it's not really acting to me. It's not what I want. I want to speak. But I did it because I liked being on set. I wanted to meet people. I needed to earn money. So I did background work, and I was on Ugly Betty, and they actually auditioned me, and they were doing this scene where they needed like an anorexic girl. And they brought in like the skinniest people they could find from central casting, lined us up against a wall, and stared at us, deciding which one of us looked most anorexic. And I won. I was like 10 pounds lighter at that time. So that's how I got on Ugly Betty, and then I was just regular background, and whenever they wanted to make a joke about a skinny girl, they would call me up. But that was fun too, just working in a pretend office and got to know people, and it's like going into a real job. And they were really flexible and would let you go for auditions, you know, if you let them know ahead of time. So it was nice. So you might see me in you would see me in Ugly Betty. First, maybe the second season. I can't remember if I did that too. Things were going on at some point, and I couldn't work. But the first season, definitely. What do you see me in? It sucks. I wish I could say. I have a friend who has worked on like the best shows and movies. Like, I want her career. You know. And she reminds me of Audrey. Like, she's Dutch. She wanted to be a dancer. She went to dancing school here in like Arnhem and Amsterdam, and like, well, she's a redhead. So, but I mean, just her background reminds me of Audrey, and she's got an actual film career. I'm jealous. Sorry, but I hope there's still hope. In the meantime, I just do other things that I enjoy. And as I've said before, if I got to play Audrey in this project, I would be good. I'd be like, I don't need to play anything else. I mean, I would get to play like Evan. She gets to play a nun. I get to play a nun. I get to just do all sorts of fun things. have somewhere to wear my pretty black and white dress. Or maybe they have a better one. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, I should stop ranting. But if I think of something else you might see me in, I'll try to remember for next time and make a note. But like, I'm just really like in the background and doing like short films and stuff. You know. I've heard only like 5% of actors in the Screen Actors Guild actually make a living at it. There are a lot of us out there that no matter how talented we are, I'm not saying I'm the most talented, I think there is room for improvement. There are a lot of people that just don't get work. So, okay, this has been a long one, but it's been nice sitting out here. No butterflies crash landed into me, but that one did come for a visit. That was really nice. And the squirrels too. I wonder if I can tempt the squirrels to like come hang out. We used to be able to feed them in Pennsylvania. That was a big bug. All right. Yes, I should go look at them again because I don't remember exactly what they looked like, but yes. All right, I should go then. This is like a telephone call with my sister. I gotta go. So, I'll see you again next week, same time, same place, same book. If anything new comes up I can include, I will bring that along. We'll see. I like good surprises. So I will sign off now. Goodbye. Later. And okay. X.